When we boarded the cruise Whitsundays boat, we got to sit in the special VIP section for Reef Suite and ReefSleep members. It was a 3-hour trip out, so they served morning tea on the boat. So we had some granola and fruit and muffins. And then when we got to the actual reef, we got to go off last and get escorted up to our VIP section on top of the reef boat. We couldn't check into our little cabanas or swags until after 2 p.m. once the day trip guests started to leave, but we could store our bags just up here in this cordoned off area for us. And we also had our own bathrooms up here, whereas the day guests had to use the bathroom on the main boat. When you arrive to the Reef World Reef, the tide is pretty high, so it's 11 o'clock in the morning, and then just pay attention because as it's leaving, the boat is leaving, the tide will get really low. So people started to go out snorkeling right away, but I went and had lunch first. So they served lunch on the boat, nice little assortment of things. And then also on the reef boat, they have an underwater observatory where you can check out the marine life down below. After lunch, I was ready to go snorkeling myself. There's a nice little seated area in the water where you can put on your mask and flippers, and there's also fish hanging out around there as well. I was disappointed in the snorkeling. I mean, you're out here a 3-hour journey actually on the Great Barrier Reef. I was expecting to see so much more and so much more lively coral. So maybe it's because this pontoon boat is just there all the time and they have these day trippers come out every day. It wasn't the best snorkeling conditions, not like where we were yesterday when I was on ZigZag Whitsundays. There was a lot more fish, more colorful yesterday. So this is just before 3 o'clock. The tide is definitely getting a lot lower. And 3 o'clock is really when the party begins because that's when all the day trippers leave. So goodbye, see you tomorrow. We're served some afternoon tea, and I learned this in Australia. Morning tea and afternoon tea just means snacks. It doesn't actually mean tea. And we get our own cool refillable water bottles. And we finally get to check in to our ReefSleep cabanas. Now we have the whole pool to ourselves. And I don't know what happened, but the exposure setting on the GoPro changed itself, but there's definitely more to be seen once all the day trippers leave, so the fish really come out to play, which was nice. Most of the action was actually below the boat. You saw some huge fish just hanging out below. The scuba diving is optional. You have to pay extra for it, but some of our reef sleepers went on a little scuba journey after the day trippers left. got some storage back here. And then even some storage down below. And these will zip up. That way I'll have the whole thing to myself. There's 12 beds up here, and then there's 2 suites down below where you're under the water and you can see the fish in your room. And my cabana was even a sunset view. And now it's time for cocktail hour. We had a gentleman come on board who was making us free cocktails. So normally your beer and wine is included in your ReefSleep, but the cocktails aren't. But he was promoting his cocktail business, so we got to try some free cocktail creations.
Here you go.
Thank you.
One of those?
Give me 5 minutes.
You've got an aged 5-fillet steak with a broth and curation type of mushroom and some sauteed greens. You guys have a Spanish mackerel.
I went to bed early, but some of the other guests stayed up drinking, but I wanted to catch up and see the sunrise. The fish get up early in the morning too for a fish feeding frenzy. This happened several times, these coordinated attacks, so I tried to follow the fish around so I could really get it on camera. And it ended up happening maybe once every 2 to 3 minutes, so as long as you're patient, then you can see it all in action. Darn it, I'm in the wrong spot. All right, let's try again. I really feel like I'm gonna get it this time. You can even go down below and try to catch them underwater. So I was just hanging out watching the fish attacks, and then I see this little guy come along. Too cool. You can catch lots of different wildlife, marine life when the day trippers aren't here. Birds just hanging out on deck, or turtles just hanging out in the water munching on some kelp. Despite my traumatic experience with the jellyfish, I decided to try and give snorkeling another try. Nope, I saw 2 jellyfish and they were right next to my face. So I'm done. Nope, no more. We were served breakfast on the reef as well, and we were just minding our own business, enjoying the scene, watching the turtles, and then here comes trouble. decided to rest in my cabana, away from all the crowds. Our last meal on board was lunch, and we were served in the privacy of our cabanas. And all the food we had on board was delicious. It was amazing. The reef snorkeling, not so good. The best part was just being on the boat after everyone had gone and getting to sleep over, and the food was excellent, and the company, a nice small group. So it was just that experience that really makes it worth it. Sleeping in the tent though, because it was so windy last night, it was a little rough because you had to open up the flaps to keep cool, but then the flaps would be flapping because it was so windy, and the wind finally died down at like, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I woke up at 5 to watch the sunrise, so I didn't really get much sleep, but that's okay. It was definitely an awesome experience, and I'm so glad that I did it, even though it was expensive, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. Again, just to stay here on the reef overnight. Awesome.